I want to show you more. Would that be all right?
Tell me more.
Ever watched a horror movie and thought to yourself, why the fuck are they trying to hide in the closet rather than running out the window? Well, Supermassive Games' latest release in The Quarry has recently released, and, well, how was it? Well, if you previously liked Supermassive's other releases like Until Dawn or the recent Dark Pictures Anthology, then yeah, you'll dig The Quarry. Before I get into it, I will be talking about the game in general, followed up by then going into spoilers, but also the footage in general might be a bit spoilery. So if you don't want anything spoiled at all, and you liked Until Dawn, Dark Pictures, or Telltale games in general, then yeah, take a look at The Quarry. There's a quick review for you. Now, if you've never played a Supermassive game before, think of it like a Telltale game, but more horror and AAA graphics and all motion captured and using real actors. The Quarry has a pretty decent cast of actors, some familiar, some new, but all giving pretty damn good performances, and I'll get to that a bit sooner. Story or premise wise, while it's a bit cliche, it works pretty well. There's a group of camp counselors that are stuck at a camp for one extra night when their van breaks down, and they're under threat from something that's in the forest that's hunting them. And I'll go a bit more into the story later on in this video, but if you're just wanting spoiler free, that's basically it. From here you'll play as a variety of different camp counselors, each with their own, again, somewhat cliche horror movie tropes. We've got the jock that everyone picks on who fell in love with the pretty girl who dumped him when camp came to an end. We've got the pretty self-centered girl who broke the jock's heart, the wisecracking smartass, the quiet arty girl who has a crush on another quiet, awkward guy who's somehow Australian. There's a loner who keeps to themselves and listens to podcasts, who's also a frequent camp counselor for this camp, and then there's basically the only person with a head on their shoulders who's basically leading the main group of counselors. Gameplay wise, well, if you played previous Supermassive games, then you already know what you're in for. The Quarry is basically an interactive movie and has very little interactivity from the player, and that's not necessarily a negative, but that's how this game plays. You need to basically keep your eye on the screen and hand on the controller or keyboard at all times, as you'll never know when a quick time event will pop up and you'll need to quickly respond to that. Outside of cutscenes, the gameplay is a bit like, say, a Telltale game, roaming around an area and picking up or looking at evidence or items of interest. Camera angles too are also, say, a bit like Telltale games or, say, the old school Resident Evil games. But that's basically the gameplay. Move around some open areas between some key events and moments, watch cutscenes play out that have quick time events, and determine how the story further unfolds. There are some shooting moments, but it's a little hip shooter styling with your aiming reticule basically being a flashlight. There are also quick time events too, as you need to shoot or react to whatever is happening on the screen. This could be something as simple as shooting bottles, which basically teaches you how to play the game when you first play the game, or shooting a monster. That's basically the entire game. The Quarry and Supermassive games aren't really normal games. Again, they're interactive movies where your choices make the flow and events of the story unfold. Now, yeah, it won't change key aspects of the game, say like the antagonist of the game, but it will change, say, how many people die, and if a character, say, loses a key item, or if they themselves die or survive the events of the game. There are some things that The Quarry does really damn well. Just like a fantastic horror movie like, say, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, or the cult hit Evil Dead series that everyone loves, but me.
You fucking idiot!
Ma.
The game has some homages that sort of form the foundation of the world of The Quarry. For starters, you're playing as camp counselors at a summer camp of Hackett's Quarry, and there's Dewey from Scream, there's Bishop from Aliens, Randy from My Name is Earl, who's lost a heap of weight and looks fit as fuck, but anyways, you get the picture. There are a lot of characters and actors that are in this that just sort of will ping for horror fans. In this world too, movies exist, and there are references by characters saying, "You've seen the Evil Dead, yeah?" But then there's also a chainsaw in the game that says "Groovy" on the blade. The Quarry 2 has also somewhat decent replayability, as obviously being an interactive movie there are multiple ways the story can go. Everyone can die, your favourite characters can live, while the douchebag jock who basically calls the camp counselors to get into the mess, yeah, I wanted him to die a horrible death, and he did.
Okay, you will die a terrible, terrible death.
Speaking of which, the actors in this game are awfully great, because it sort of works perfectly for a horror game.
You can't hide from me in my own house, fucker!
You're a fucker.
Ooh, good comeback.
If this game wasn't horror based, then it wouldn't really work and it wouldn't make sense, but the acting here is so cliche, it worked perfectly. When an actor can give you a performance where you flat up deliberately want to see that character get killed, that's something pretty positive in my books. The kills too are, yes, gory, and in my experience with the story, I had limbs being removed, faces being shot off, people being eaten, and I streamed the entire game on Twitch. And yeah, I might move over from live streaming on Twitch to say live streaming on YouTube. But yeah, anyways, my chat and I were constantly commenting on the story and the characters, and basically it's like watching a horror movie at a mate's place on Halloween. But what the Quarry has that other Supermassive games don't have, and it's the way to save characters' lives if you've accidentally killed them. So for example, if you've failed a quick time event and you've killed your favourite character, or perhaps the self-obsessed character should have more of a brutal death, you've got 3 lives where you can basically rewind time, go back and retry saving that character. But you only have 3 lives for the full length of the story, and the story goes for roughly 10 hours or so you need to use them well. But there are some things that personally didn't work for me. For starters, there is proper music in this game, and it reminded me of Zack Snyder's Justice League. Being that it was a pretty good game, but the music flat up does not match with this game. There were maybe 2 songs in this game that I went, yeah, that works or it suits, but every other song worked like Lamb and Tuna Fish.
Lamb and tuna fish?
I also played this on PC and had frequent and annoying bugs. For starters, loading screens on PC took between 45 seconds to 2 minutes to load to go from cutscene to cutscene. When the game loaded, the cutscene would freeze, but the audio would keep going, so when the cutscene unfroze, it would repeat what just happened, so the audio would loop through twice. I mean, I kind of prefer that the cutscene and the audio would repeat itself, but in a 10-hour game that's basically a cutscene, it did get very annoying. At one point too, I had some constant crashing, but after I verified the files, the crashing stopped at least. But thankfully though, I can confirm that I had no issues playing the Quarry on an Xbox. Also, while it's again more of the style of the game, but there isn't much interactivity in this game. And if you're actively watching and paying attention to what's going on, it's kinda easy not to fail some of the skill challenges. During one moment while playing, I deliberately got up to put on a jumper, and I deliberately did this during a key cutscene moment so something interesting could happen. Also, worth noting, and this point isn't really a negative, but the game is a very slow burn. There is a prologue at the start of the game that sets the tone and gives us some kind of horror, but after you properly start the game, there isn't much horror or gore, say until about the 4-hour mark into the game. Speaking of which, after about 2 hours of gameplay, any horror fan can easily guess the story and style of the game. And, well, look, it's time to get into the spoilers of the Quarries, so if you finally wanted to hear my thoughts on the game, yes, it's pretty good, and yes, I recommend it. But now it's time to get into the spoilers, and you've been warned.
I warned you, but you didn't listen! I gave you one last chance to walk away, and you blew it!
Anyways, the story of the game is camp counselors are packing up to leave home when the douchey jock who's upset that his self-centered TikTok star girlfriend counselor has dumped him because she wanted a summer fling, and the jock caught feelings.
Goodbye, my lover. Goodbye, my friend.
So the jock sabotages the van so no one can leave, and they have to have one more night at camp. David Arquette's character loses his shit and tells everyone to go inside, to lock the doors and don't come outside, as the day the camp ends, it's day 1 of hunting season and there's bears. But again, spoilers here, after maybe an hour into the main game we're introduced to 2 hunters, which are Lance Hendrickson and Ethan Suplee, and they're hunting werewolves, and they only want to keep the counselors safe. The game does try to set up that the counselors are being hunted by Bishop and Randy, but it's pretty obvious that they only want to keep the kids safe and they're out to take the werewolves down and to end the werewolf curse. The game also has, say, a narrator, if you will, and bringing her tarot cards will give you glimpses into the future and help you with some potential options. Sadly though, some moments have no real change or difference. There's a moment where you think an infected counselor is going to be dragged away by a hunter, but no matter what option you pick, the outcome will be the same, which is a bit of a bummer. Another small negative too is, yes, I played this game, yes, I enjoyed it, and yes, my favourite characters lived. However, if you said, hey Dudi, what's your favourite character in this game? I couldn't tell you the character's name, I could only tell you the character's cliche type. I like the arty one, I like the jock, or I didn't like the jock, no one likes the jock, but I like the arty one, or I like the camp counselor leader, or I like David Arquette, or I like My Name is Earl. I can't tell you the character names. Now yeah, you're dealing with werewolves in the quarry, but at one point you're then at the end dealing with the hunters, because I accidentally shot the mum in the face with a shotgun.
Why the fuck did you do that?
I didn't mean to do it, as an accident.
But the design of the werewolves look pretty crap in my opinion.
Hey, werewolves, not swearwolves.
Yeah, I know.
Werewolves,
Well,
not
on
swearwolves.
transformation
Yeah.
nights, it's alright, I'm getting stressed out.
I was just reminding you.
Stop talking and chain yourself up, you dickhead.
There are really cool features of being a werewolf in this universe seems to have, like you can only be killed by silver, so if you're shot with normal bullets or stabbed or whatnot, you will heal from it. Also, being a werewolf, it will heal you from your previous injuries, where you see one character who's lost an eye, and as she starts to get closer to transforming, the character's eye comes back, and her scars and wounds are healed. But the transformation from human to werewolf, you basically explode, sending blood everywhere, and you look like a stretched out goblin rather than a werewolf. It would have been cool if we had proper transformations like American Werewolf in London, or even something like Van Helsing. And yes, before you hear me out, I know it's a shit movie, but the sort of idea of ripping away your own skin to fur and, the wolf to come out from underneath was kinda cool. But, well, if you've hung around and you now know the twist, you've either played it or you're not going to play it, or perhaps something completely different. You might be watching this on a train and you've not been paying attention, and now you're wondering why I'm talking about Van Helsing. Anyways, The Quarry is pretty fun, and it's also a game that anyone of any skill level can play. Obviously, kids shouldn't play this, but I got Mrs. Dudi to take a look at it and the previous Man of Medan title, and yeah, she kinda liked these styles of games. If you did like Until Dawn, the Dark Pictures Anthology, or Telltale games, then I 100% recommend The Quarry to you. Yeah, there were some PC bugs, but when The Quarry worked, it worked. I was commenting and talking like I was watching a classic horror movie and was deciding if I needed to run from a werewolf or hide from them. Now, I did play this solo on Twitch with some of you hanging out and watching together, getting some early impressions for this review, but this game can be played with 8 friends on a couch together, all playing as one counsellor. The Quarry would make a great Halloween party night, and yeah, it's a pretty fun time in general. Now, The Quarry is available now on everything except for the Nintendo Switch, and next week I'll be taking a look at Shredder's Revenge. So until next time, remember to play with each other and play with yourself.
Quick! Take all your clothes off that you want to keep, everyone! Get that army surplus jacket off, you've only just bought that, Nathan!